Hey, WCI, it's Mr. Davis here at Mount Vernon. Pretty exciting, huh? Today is a rainy day, but it's really, really hot. It's like you're in a steam shower, but it's raining on you. Well, hey, we're gonna bring you along on this journey here to Mount Vernon. Hope you enjoy it on you. Okay, well, here we are. You know, back in the 1700s, people were people, and so they had to go to the bathroom as well. So over here, right behind me, we have the necessary. The necessary is another word for the bathroom, because it's necessary. Yeah, it's right back there. It's pretty nice for an outhouse. Still an outhouse, for an outhouse. Okay, you're gonna notice something about George's house. It looks like stone, but it's not. It is actually pine boards, grooved pine boards. And what they did, and this is all optical illusion to make it look like stone, is they put some white paint down. And then what they did is they took fine sand thrown on the wet paint, which then looks like stone. So when you look at George Washington's house, you'll notice it looks like stone. So I was actually thinking outside the box. Okay, so here's his house. It's called the mansion. 3 stories, originally just 2, about half the size.
All right, we're standing in front of the door to what was the large dining room, but dining wasn't always done inside. In the summer times, they would have dinner parties out on the piazza, the porch that overlooks the river on the other side of the house. And there's a fun story about one day as they were setting up dinner on the piazza. Now, Mrs. Washington insisted that at every dinner, one of her Virginia hams had to be on the table. She was famous for her smoked hams. Well, they were setting the table and had placed the ham on the table, and she turned to go get something else. In the meantime, one of George Washington's dog, his pet dog Vulcan, was lurking nearby. And as he saw Mrs. Washington turn to walk away from the table, he made a beeline for the table, leaped over the table, grabbed the ham, and took off. To say the least, Mrs. Washington was not pleased. But the story goes that General Washington thought that was quite funny. So they had to chase Vulcan down, but of course the ham never made it back to the table.
Ready to go.
Now this tree right here, this is even older than when George Washington was here. 1735 is when this was planted. A lot of folks want to know about historical trees here on the property, and this is a swamp chestnut. You can see it's a little gnarly, a little short. It actually had a fungal infection about 25 years ago, and now we have just we figured out with pruning it, we'll bring it back to life, and it is actually growing back, and it looks a lot better now. And now we have.
Okay, so here is a bunkhouse at Mount Vernon for the slaves. George himself owned around 200 slaves. Martha owned a little bit over 100. This is where the women would have slept. The men's hall is exactly the same. As far as living conditions, you can see right here, each place had a fireplace for warmth and for cooking and all the different foods. Washington, upon his death, freed every one of his slaves on his deathbed. That left Martha with around 100 to maintain the farms after that point. Okay, so this is kind of cool and creepy. So I'm going to move the camera, and George is going to follow us. He's making sure you're doing your homework. He's making sure you're taking your tests, being nice to your parents. Whoa. No, George, don't look at me. Oh boy. Okay, so this is my last entry for today. You see this right here? This is the Battle of Fort Necessity. And this is Washington's first defeat as a commander of the French Indian War, leading the British against the French and Indians. You see right here, Fort Necessity being overrun. Now, this really is like Civil War Day. This is Mr. Hoy over here. These are my troops over here. And we're defeating Mr. Hoy's troops. See, they're all running away. Right here, see that? They're all running away. There you go. Bye, Mr. Hoy. You lost Civil War Day again. All right. Just like George Washington. That's not a bad thing, Mr. Hoy. It's not a bad thing. All right.